Good morning. How y'all feeling out there? What's going on? Uh, I'm Omi Bell, and here I am live on a Saturday morning at my time, 6 a.m. because I enjoy this. And I'm so excited to talk to y'all today. I do have a couple guests that'll be coming in, and one of them you've seen before, but we're approaching this conversation from a different angle because I am on this particular interview series, and here's the thing: I'm gonna get better at telling y'all when I'm going live. I'm trying to work on it. I got some feedback from one of my Omi homies, and she's like, "Girl, can you at least send out a text message to the Omi homie list when you going live?" I'm working on it, y'all. Okay, because you're right. I should send y'all a text message letting y'all know you signed a text list. Good morning. You signed a text. You signed up for the text message list, and that was the right thing to do. And so I'm gonna make sure that I let y'all know when I'm going live. Okay, so I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna do better at that because I noticed that like I don't be you know what it is? One, I don't like to like text people a lot and I don't like to like overdo it. And I don't ever want somebody to be like, oh, I'm so annoyed. She contacted me too much. She's sending me spam. Like, I never want that. However, as a business coach, what I would tell other people is if they unsubscribe, they are not your tribe. Because the people that I want to hear from, even if they send me some things I don't read all the time, I don't unsubscribe because I want to hear from them. And so I need to get keen on being like, you know what, my only homies want to hear from me. Let me stop acting like that. Another thing is I probably need to get a community manager at some point. Good morning, y'all. It is true. I need to focus on getting a community manager so I can make sure that these things go out on rhythm every week. I used to be really good at it at one point when I was live on SiriusXM. Speaking of SiriusXM, my show airs tomorrow. In fact, when I get off from here, I actually need to record it and get over to the producer. Um, the My show airs tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday on Sirius XM channel 126. So make sure you check that out. So I want to kick this off with some business advice this morning. I want to have this. If the person that experienced this with me happens to tune in and is watching this, I want to add a disclaimer that this is not about them. I want to tell this story because what I feel like happens is people really think that they're what I want to say. I just think that like sometimes nobody gives people feedback on why they may or may not be making money from their business or may or may not their business may or may not be taking off in a certain way. Now, first I want to set us in a certain reality before I get into this because so 3B society is body, business, and belonging. And I am really putting forth how do we live a integrated life where it doesn't have to be I worry about my body over here, I worry about my business over here. And like belonging is wherever I am, whenever I get there. Like I'm really looking at how do we use nervous system regulation? How do we create a community and an ecosystem of people who care about these things? And I'm working on a few different cool things in the background, some research, I'm working on how to put forth like a pop-up wellness clinic where I can work with medical doctors to bring like nervous system regulation. So I got some cool things popping in the background I can't really necessarily tell y'all all about yet, but just know that like it involves a tour. It involves coming to your city. It involves bringing the stuff that I'm doing with breath work and sound healing and the sleep yoga nidra. It involves bringing all that to your city. So stay tuned. In fact, I mean, let me know what city should I come to. Now, this would be different because right now, a lot of people know me. Good morning. Good morning, Loretta. Good morning, CC23. Good morning, Anessa. Good morning, Maria. A lot of people know me from being on the East Coast, being in DMV, and then a lot of people know me from BGV. And now I'm essentially the reason why the title of this show, wherever you're watching this, says Becoming Omi, is because I am putting forth shifting into being fully a wellness practitioner for my life. Like that is where I'm moving. And it's new branding and it's like it's who I am, but I don't know if that has been something I've been putting forth for other people to know. So I'm building this in real time. Now I'm not necessarily like building the plane and flying it. I guess I am kind of, but I know so much from running all the businesses I've run and running BGV for 10 years I don't know if it's building the plane and flying it, but it is like it is laying the tracks as I go. It's like I know the direction generally that everything needs to go, and I'm like laying those tracks and walking on them at the same time. Building the plane and flying, it feels like you're falling out of thin air and trying to do something. That is not that, and that's a really anxious feeling. This feeling has a different level of anxious attached to it. And is why I have to like lean into nervous system regulation work, is because there's a different level of like building this, which is like I've already fully established myself as being the CEO of Black Girl Ventures. And for a lot of my Omi homies, hey Regine, who are coming in, you know me from SiriusXM, and you know I'm the CEO of Black Girl Ventures. I've more recently in the last maybe year or two, I've been on SiriusXM for on that Sunday show. I've had my Sunday show since 2021. So it's been about 4 years for me. And 5 years actually. Wow, time flies. But having said all that, on my Sunday show, I'm talking about business. I'm bringing different perspectives, but now I want to talk about wellness whole lot more. And I want to figure out some other thing to call it, because I feel like when people say like wellness, how does that land for y'all? When people go like wellness, I'm a wellness practitioner, I do wellness things. Like, does that land for you? Because I feel like, I'm curious as to like how that lands for people. When you hear people say I'm wellness or use the term wellness, I feel like it's gotten so broad and it's getting so overly commercialized that like you still don't know exactly who to trust when you say like help me be well. What does that mean? I think this is why I want to do more research and partnering up with some medical doctors and partnering up with some people really in the field of somatic work, like what's happening in your body and how, like, how they say body keeps the score. It's so true. Like we have so much muscle memory around things that have been and essentially like the whole time our body's trying to protect us. Like that's really what's happening. Our body is saying like, oop, I dealt with that before. Don't want to do that. Oops, see, I see that coming. Don't want to get hurt there. So I think I had to think of another word to call myself. I'm open though to what y'all think. What do y'all think I should call it? Wellness practitioner is one thing, but I'm down to be like a fairy. I don't know. I'm down to be like the breathwork fairy. You know what I mean? The nervous system regulation queen. You know what I mean? Like I'm here for all of that. And Dr. Kanisha, she is I think she is and maybe she's on the wrong link too, but she's coming in today. She's a chiropractor and she's gonna come. We're gonna talk about chiropractic. One of the things I want to get into, something that my Omi homies ask me for all the time, and it's like me get into this business and into some business conversations. So y'all stay with me because I want to try and like tell a story, but my purpose is not to call out the person that I actually went through this with, but I feel like it's a great lesson. So there's a couple of things. Know that when you're going to get partnerships or, how I want to put this, in your business development, there's a couple things that I'm seeing that and I want to talk about. And because they hit me this week, and I want to make sure I give some capacity to this. Okay, so here we go. There's a couple things. There is, what does it look like are you a business owner? Meaning, like, are you thinking of yourself as a business, or are you thinking of yourself as a person with a great thing who does things that feel great to people and it's great? Like, how are you thinking of yourself, right? And when you see people get access to some of these deals and things, it's just because they knew somebody. It's not always that they put forth themselves in a way where they knew nobody and then somebody actually adapted what they have. Now, I'm not saying, if you know somebody, then hey, get all the business you can. However, the I know somebody thing does have a limit to it. So it does have there is a moment where whatever you're doing has to take hold on its own, such that you keep getting recommended. Because, okay, let's say using a brand, somebody at, let's say Walmart, and they get you in the door to a thing. You still have to have enough greatness for the door you got into to continue whatever it is, so you know somebody else. So it's like I knew that one person, they opened the door, I got in the door, and now somebody else in that room, I now know, and that takes you to the next thing. This is, thinking about how you settle your network in a way that keeps your business moving forward, where the one person that you knew can only get you a certain limited amount of business. After that, you got to get recommended to other people, or whatever you're doing has to constantly work. So sometimes when people they have all these logos in their deck, or they have all these, I work with this person and I work with that person. Be discerning in the questions you ask them when you're interviewing potential people you want to hire or partner with, and they have all these logos on their deck. Yeah, because when I worked with this group, and when I worked with that group, and when I did this, yeah, I work with this large conference, and I work with this large brand. When people do that, you got to figure out what questions you're going to ask them, and you got to be discerning about their approach, because sometimes they're just saying they were on a larger team of people who did a larger thing, which is like, oh no, but what I need is for you to be responsible for this thing solely. And that's two different things. So when you're thinking about partnerships or who to work with, people will tell you whatever, and I'm not saying they might not be lying. They may have really worked with the people they saying they worked with. However, you get to working with them and you realize, oh, you're only good at this when you have a larger conglomerate around you. So this is the thing about all my corporate employees who are leaving corporations right now. As you leave that corporation, you got to reset your expectations. As you leave that big safety net that you were under, you gotta rethink how you think about yourself and how you approach working for other businesses sometimes. Unless you're going to go into a business that also has that is a big conglomerate. If you're going right from one business that's alike to another, cool. If you're going to start a business yourself, it may take you a while to really realize that, like, all the things you learned in that big corporate hug, that big corporate ecosystem, really weren't real for how the real world works, in terms of you having to get it how you live. If you don't move, you don't eat. The idea of, like, if you don't move, you don't eat, and I'm saying get it how you live, that's a whole different level of working. You can do it. You absolutely can do it. But know that, like, some of the privilege of how you think about things has come from you being a part of this large conglomerate of things. And it is an identity shift, right? And and even with me, this is why I have Becoming Omi as a title, is because, like, me running BGV for 10 years, and now deciding that I'm going to move into, I see some names. Somebody said an NRS specialist. I love that. Nervous system regulation specialist, the NRS. I like that. Okay, nervous system regulation. Nervous system so NSR. NSR, I don't know, that sounds too close to NSA. But NSR, nervous system regulation specialist. I like that. Somebody said the wellness fairy. I like that, paper chaser. Monica said the regulator. I like that, Monica. But me moving from this identity of building BGV business into a more, honestly, me moving into this wellness work is a heart work. Even though, like, with BGV, my mind and my heart are in it, but my mind is like gunning for strategy because I'm constantly fundraising. But now, what does it look like to lead from my soul, from my spirit, from a grounded place? And if I think about it, I was there at the beginning of BGV, and everything I've gone through has sort of shaped how I think about things now, which is, how do I've built a team. I've had a team at most of 25. Now we're down to 14. And that's full time. Now, in terms of, like, contractors, it makes it a little bit more. But how do I build a team? How do I go out and fundraise? How do I keep money coming in every year? Highest we went, it was like about $5 million annual operating. And now we're steady about 3.4 million. So it's like, keep every year as a nonprofit executive, I have to raise capital. And so every year there's a strategy around that. And how am I going to do that? How am I going to push that forward? And then how am I going to train the people that are on my team to do it, along with making the right hires? I'm saying all that to say, making the right hires, hearing people promote things to you, and you're thinking, oh, you're the right partner. Oh, you're the right coach. Oh, you got to really get your questions together about what you need. What do you need? You should be interviewing anybody who you want to work with. Don't ever look at their skill as being so big and so great that you are in service to their skill. And don't get me wrong, service is great all the way around. But what I want you to know is that the people that you're contracting with and hiring, they are there to serve whatever your goal is. So whatever you have come up with, your goal and your mission personally and in your company, the people you're working with are there to help serve that mission and that goal. And if that is misaligned, you have to make different decisions. You can't suffer through it. Bad hires or bad partnerships are not things to suffer through. The thing is, you got to get more keen on knowing that something will likely be a bad hire and a bad partnership as you go along. So I think that, so here's what happened. I saw this, met this person. They have a beautiful concept that I love. I looked them up, looked it up online. They look great. Concept looks amazing. When I met them, they were also amazing. So I went through their process. I reached out. I went and booked on their website, booked times for their consultation. All right. I know that I'm ready to pay this person money. I know I'm ready to buy into this concept. I saw it. I loved it. I want it for things that I'm doing. So I'm coming to the table with a bag, and they don't know that yet, but I know that. So I told my team, but I know who I need to convince, and not convince, because I mean I could just make a decision, but I'm a team player, so I know who I need to inform and convince in order for me to push this forward in the way I want to have my team manage it. So I bring my team to the call, my partnership manager, my COO, my director of programs, because I want to buy into this concept. So I go onto the person's website, book it, boom, we ready to go. My whole team gets to the meeting maybe 2 minutes early because my team knows be on time. Clock strikes at the time I'm supposed to meet with this person. They're not there. So I'm like, okay, so you got a booking process on your website and then you're not here. Okay, you like, what's up? Now, I want to add this caveat that I have done things where my booking site didn't match up to my current calendar, and if somebody booked, I didn't realize it, and I didn't even show up. I've done that. But in that it was, I think if I was offering something for free, I don't think they were paying me, but still, but I've done that, right? And that's on me. And so lesson number 1, if you have a booking site of any sort, make sure that it's connected to your calendar and giving you the level of notifications so that if somebody book, expect that people will book. And when they do, you need to show up. All right. So I'm saying I'm there. Person's not there. Me and my whole team, we on this person's booking link. They're not there. So I go to Instagram, I DM, hey, what's up? I'm here. 2 or 3 minutes later, they come in. So now it's about 3 minutes in. But they don't come in like pants on fire, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm expecting. Like, you're the person that's late. I booked on your link. What's up? They don't, but they came in like, oh, hey, good morning. So I get a little like, what the like, I'll be honest, at that moment, as a businesswoman, I'm going, what the hell? Like, 1, you're late. 2, you're not coming in here apologizing or anything. You just like, oh, hey, y'all. What? I'm ready to spend money with you. Like, what we talking about? So, okay. So then I said, well, hey, we were a little worried because we've been here and nobody was here. So I didn't know. I sent you a DM on Instagram because I didn't know if somebody else was showing up or like what. And she's like, oh no, I'm a team of 1. Yeah, sorry about that. But we could stay on a little later. No, we can't. My whole team is here and we gotta do work. So like now I'm even getting more like, what like, you're not respecting my time. And like, I don't know if you know who I am. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to pull the do you know who I am card. But still, but that's how it made me feel. I'm sharing with y'all how this made me feel. So I felt like, do you know who I am? You know what I mean? Like, do you know I'm here with the bag and you talking about, oh yeah, we can stay on extra time. No, we can't. My whole team is here and we got work to do. So I said to her, no, like we have to go to work. Like, shout out to you for having more time. Dr. Kanisha, I see you. But I'm like, no, Dr. Kanisha, I see you. I bring him a sec. But I'm like, no, we got work to do. All right. So she's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, well, let's do it. Now I'm in control of the meeting because you came in late. So this is another thing. If you set a meeting with somebody or somebody sets a meeting with you, you get there early so that you can be in control of the energy of the meeting. That's one of the reasons. You don't just get there early to impress them. You get there early so you can control the meeting because this is your bag on the table. This is your bag. This is your relationship. This is your brand on the table. So get to the meeting. You ain't even got to be super early. Get to the meeting 3-4 minutes early. And don't, if you on Zoom, don't wait to a minute before to log in because Zoom will give you that, oh, we need an update. Next thing you know, you 2 minutes late. Don't do that. Get on, try to, and I tell my team this, try to make sure you open up Zoom 5 minutes before because you don't know what it's about to do. But we was on Google Meet. But anyway, so now I'm in control of the meeting because you were late. You came into a meeting with me at this point. Now I didn't come into a meeting with you and it's your meeting. So okay. So then I load them up. I mean, I'm like, hey, let's do introductions. So then my whole team introduces themselves. And then we toss it to her. She's like, introduce herself. And she's like, yeah, well, usually when I have these calls, I just ask people, like what they're looking to do, yada, yada, yada. But at that point, see, this is the thing about the energy shift. If you don't enter into the meeting in a way where you are in control of the meeting, your energy is off because now you usually would do a thing that you didn't do. And here's the thing. I want to give some grace because maybe she had an emergency that morning. But if you did, you got to email. You got to say something to the people that's coming to meet with you. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm running late. Hey, something's happening. Like, to me, it just looked irresponsible because there was no communication and you're late and now you're looking frazzled in the meeting. Now you acting like we got time all day to meet with you. Like, it just read as like unprofessional, unprepared. And honestly, like, I don't care about your time. That's how it read. So, okay, she does her presentation. She shows us all the pieces of what she's working on. You can do it like this. You can do it like that. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Here's where we got more skeptical. Mind you, I came to the call ready to pay her, to be honest. Ready to be like, I love this. I want it in several cities that BGV is going to. She didn't know that, though. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to New York. We're going to be in DC. We're going to Chicago. I'm like, when I saw the concept, initially when I met her, I want that in all of my cities. I'm going to meet with her and I'm going to figure out how we do that, right? When we started the call and she asked us some questions after we got into it, I said, we're looking at New York, but we also have an event in DC. Her responses to what we were saying was like a burdened, almost burned out solopreneur. And that may be her reality. However, if you paint that picture to the person that's holding the bag to pay you, then I'm looking like this is insecure for me to pay you. Like, not her insecure. I'm saying, like, this is not, I don't feel assured that you're even going to be able to execute. Because she was saying, so one, you already like, well, I'm a solo person and it's just me. Okay, cool. Then it was, well, because I'm like, we want to do DC too. Well, I would have to bring my equipment and all that. Duh. You know what I mean? Like, bake it into the price. I don't care. Like, if I'm telling you I want you in multiple cities, clearly I'm gonna be ready to pay for your travel or if you have a line item in there that says like, I'm gonna have to carry my travel expenses, I'm ready to pay you. Like, I like that part really got me because I'm like, girl, of course, if I bring you from one city to another, I'm gonna have to pay for that. I know that. I would want to be paid for it as a person. So like, duh. So it was just, we went, and then this is the part that was kind of like the nail in the coffin. So I want to still do something with her, but I'm not going to do it at the level that I was because I really love the concept. So she was like, I said, what's the price? Oh, well, really, we could customize it however you want. What's the time length of what you do? Oh, it could be anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours. The thing that she showed me, I'm like, I don't know how that's 20 minutes, but okay. Okay, what's the cost? Oh, we can really customize it to however you want. This is saying to me, you're low on cash, you'll do whatever for the money. That's what it now and you don't. I wouldn't paint that picture if I were you to any funder, right? Always know, I don't care if it's the real price list or not. We don't know that. Make up something and be like, 20 minutes is gonna cost you 1,500. 2 hours is gonna cost you $10,000. I don't know, but like, you've been doing this, you've done it with brands, all that. Make up a dollar amount. Don't go in there acting like, well, we can kind of do whatever you need. Whatever you need is after you tell me exactly what you've been charging. So then she's like, oh, the range is anywhere from five. It starts at 5,000. Okay, fair. The range it starts at 5,000. Cool. There's an add-on component. What happens when I add on this component? Oh, you add on this component, it's just double. That doesn't make sense. For the add-on component, what you do in the add-on component, you telling me it's double the whole 2-hour service. That in the add-on component is not going to be 2 hours. That don't make sense. You making up stuff, right? But like, as a businesswoman, I'm sitting there thinking you're making up stuff, and you just didn't take me seriously. Like, I didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't know if it was like, you didn't approach this call with seriousness because I'm Black, or you thought I didn't have no money, or like, I don't know what she was thinking. But I was talking to a business friend of mine. She was like, you know what? This sounds like you were talking to an influencer, but you thought you were approaching a business. Two different things. And I love that perspective, because I was approaching this like I am approaching a business owner, right? Because when you telling me, oh, I'm by myself, but like, if I'm paying you $10,000 to $20,000, I'm thinking that you about to go hire somebody to come with you. You see what I'm saying? Like, if she would have said, look, I could do 2 cities, but it's gonna cost y'all 25,000. To be honest with you, I would have found the money for it, because I really liked the concept. And that's the thing that she didn't realize. I would have got the money for it because I liked the concept. I came to the call with the bag ready to pay her. Her approach made me not want to pay her. Right. And so I was just sitting there like, okay, girl, well, like, what is it costing? Like, what's up? She didn't have any of that ready. And like, you got to know how. So I'm saying I want to bring Dr. Kanisha up. I started this because I wanted to share this with y'all, and I was feeling time. Because so your approach could be keeping you from getting paid. Moral of the story is, your approach, all the commentary online keeps telling you this, everybody else that don't want to pay you. That's not true. And don't try to count nobody's pockets, because I don't care if they look Black, they look small, they look whatever. Somebody get a deal and they call you and they want to work with you. You hear them out and you just see if you want to work with them. But don't go assuming that people don't have money. Now, I don't know if she assumed that, but that's how it felt to me, because that's my own PTSD, right? Like, my own PTSD of like people underestimating me, right? Which had nothing to do with her. And I'm clear about that. And I want to be self-aware of that. How I felt in her not being prepared, me feeling like it was about me, wasn't real. It wasn't about me. She just wasn't prepared. But again, I'm acknowledging, and I'm saying this out loud, because I think as business owners and as you look for partners, you sometimes got to acknowledge your own PTSD, right? She got to be self-aware of where she might be having her own trauma too, where she came to the call with assumptions. She didn't show up her best because she didn't have a good morning. I don't know. But like, whatever the case is, she fumbled the bag at that point, because I was prepared to pay her $25,000+. Now I'm barely gonna be paying her $5,000. And for her add-on, I'm gonna hire an outside person. Her add-on was like photography. I'm gonna hire somebody else to do that part, because you couldn't clearly articulate to me what you had, right? And that's not a punishment. I'm not assured that you can execute at a level that your website says you can, because of the way you approach the call. So nervous system regulation has multiple important pieces here, because getting your own level of clarity so that you go into every call, every experience with as much confidence as you can find is important. And you can't always pull that out of the air. You might have to dance around, have some somatic movement. You might have to figure out how you get your own confidence up and how you stay assured on what you're working on. And maybe, who knows, she might have been at her wit's end and was like, I ain't been able to get no deals. I'm tired. And so you got to be mindful of the energy you bring. We are all responsible for the energy that you bring to these business deals. We love to sit back and talk about the stat of how less than 1%, less than 2% of women get access to venture capital. Less than 1% of Black people get access to venture capital. All that is real. All that's true. But all the reasons why you're not getting business ain't related to that stat. All the reasons why you're not getting business aren't related to somebody being against you. Well, let me say that. Let me tread lightly, because the somebody being against you thing is systematic and it's deep. So let me back up. Let me back it up just for a second and be sensitive to. Maybe it is related to somebody being against you, but it ain't the person in front of you all the time. Right? So it is deep buried trauma over the course of freaking family and generations that have us not believing in ourselves, have us not feeling like we can do it as women, as people of color, have Black people, having us feel like nobody will buy into what we have, or always bumping up against, always playing defense around what we have. Well, is this how I do it? And if you don't want it, but it's like, I wasn't even asking her to prove her value, because I already valued it, but she didn't realize that. And even I'm reflecting on, like, how could I have signaled it to her, because I care about small business owners. So I did reach out and say, hey, I would love to give you some feedback, if you're open to it. Because that's the thing, not everybody's open to feedback. Like, some people will be like, oh, I just didn't get it, and they'll just go living in their story that nobody wants to fund me, and they love it there. I don't love the story of nobody wants to fund me. I don't love that story, so I don't want to live there. I don't love the story of it's hard for me to make money, so I don't live there. Like, I'm not going to live in that story, because that story sucks. I choose to live in the story that people want to fund me, people want to be a part of what I'm doing, people want to engage, people want to give me money. Money lives with me, money likes me, money comes to see me all the time. I choose to live in a different story. And sometimes, but here's the thing, that story is a conscious choice every day. That story is a conscious choice every day. I went one time, and then after this, I'm gonna bring Dr. Kanisha. One time I wasn't feeling happy. There's a point where I was like, I just can't grasp it. I just couldn't grasp happiness at one point. And it wasn't, I don't know. I just didn't know what was happening to me. So when I'm like that, or I get curious, I go study things. So I went on Coursera and I took this free course by this Stanford professor, I think it was Stanford, about happiness. And in the course, she was like going through, like, what actually makes you happy. So she was asking the students, like, what do you think makes you happy? And then everybody's giving all these things. Oh, family. Oh, children. Oh, vacations. Oh, money. Oh, freedom. And she's like, actually, based off of all the studies on happiness, the main thing that makes you happy is the choice to be happy every day. Making the intentional choice to be happy is what creates that happiness. And what that told me is that I could also choose other stories. I saw this post the other day where this lady said, in order to go to sleep, you have to actually pretend to be asleep. So that should tell you everything else that you need to know about life. And I was like, I had to sit with that, like, that's crazy. In order to go to sleep, you actually have to pretend to be asleep. So what does that say about whatever else you're trying to get? What does that say about wherever else you're trying to go? What does that say about whatever else you're trying to bring into your life? In order to go to sleep, you have to lay down, close your eyes, and be there for a minute. You really have to lay down. Now, don't get me wrong. This is broad, because some people have different sleep things, disorders, whatever. There is a level of tired that you can get where your body just kind of puts you to sleep. But for the most part, I'm about to go to bed. You get into bed and lay down to be like, hey, body, it's time. What else could you do in your life like that? What other ways, where else could you position yourself like that? One more post. Saw this other post last night that blew my mind. And honestly, I had to look at it like 2 or 3 times. This is where, like, the good side of the internet. You know what I mean? It's like, There's so much craziness happening on the internet, but you can run into the good side of the internet every now and then. So, okay, got on it. This post says the question was asked: why do people always get into relationships where they're treated bad, or like stay in these relationships where they're not treated well? And the person said, I guess this person was a doctor, I don't know. But anyway, they said, because it's a survival mode tactic. We know how to survive relationships that don't treat us well. We know we it's a familiarity with knowing how to survive not being treated well, because somewhere in your life, childhood or whatever, you weren't treated well. You know how to survive that. You know that. Your muscle says, I know that. This is familiar. This familiarity feels like love. This familiarity feels like belonging. It feels like placement. It feels like, so I could fight this. It's the same thing with finances. Survival mode. I know how to move when I got $100 left. but people got 10,000 and they like running out of money. You know what I mean? Like it's like what, like it's a there's a we have a temperature set, where that we kind of go back to. And like pushing through that takes somatic work. Pushing through that takes nervous system regulation. Pushing through that to say, like, how do I know how to be with people who treat me well and not feel and not get into levels of uncomfortability where we then just sort of blank out, disassociate. Do we know that? Come and go into trauma and tell, like, I don't trust it. I don't trust this. They treat me well. I don't trust that. Why they being so nice? Why they asking all them questions? What they trying to, it's like on putting yourself back into offense. And so talking about somatic work, I want to bring up Dr. Kanisha. Dr. Kanisha Harris is a chiropractic physician, rest worker, and wellness advocate based in St. Louis, Missouri. As a founder of KH Wellness, she created an accessible entry point into whole body health for her community. She also serves as an integrative chiropractic provider with the Doula Lab of Belleville, Illinois, supporting birthing individuals and community members seeking holistic care. Dr. Kanisha Harris, and I'm calling her Dr. Kanisha. Dr. Harris is the author of You Okay, Sis? A workshop and journal that blends Sankofa philosophy with old way healing and radical rest, offering participants in a transformative time traveling back to themselves. A preventative healthcare provider at her core, she believes rest is resistance and healing is a birthright. She does all of this while serving as a mother, wife, and neighborhood association board member, rooted in and giving back to the community she loves. I'm so excited to bring to the stage, coming to the stage, Dr. Kanisha Harris. How you
Hello.
feeling this morning?
Hello. Thank you for having me. Sorry for that delay. I'm happy to be here.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. And I'm always happy to bring your energy. I think you're such a sweet soul,
Oh,
to the community and for us to talk about this. So when we met on the last interview series, it was more about like business. But this time I want to really get into the somatic work, the unlocking. And so I really want to talk about your cases and what work you're doing with that. What inspired you? What inspired you to start it? Well, first, give us a little overview of what UO Cases is, and then I want to know what inspired you to start it.
okay. So, can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, how it started off is when I was in chiropractic school, I was noticing that a lot of the things that just seemed so natural that I had experienced my whole life through like watching the people around me that reared me. I just found that they had these practices that were just things that they did that I thought. And my school, which was Logan University, was working with Harvard University, and they were doing research on things like meditation. They were doing research on nervous system regulation, and the things that they were researching, it was like the things that I've seen my grandmother do or something like that. And it's like we've been doing this for years. And so it came from a place of sometimes I feel like we need validation, and sometimes that validation looks like, the research, or it looks like it's coming from somewhere else outside of us. We always think we need something from outside of us, and when we had it the whole time. And so I just, from that point forward, I'm like, okay, no, listen, let me find a way to get the narrative back. Yes, it's great to have this research behind it because I love me some research and data. But at the same time, it's like, let me kind of take this back in and show everybody we have everything we need. We've always had everything we need. Let's reach back, let's reminisce, and let's bring it back because what's good for my ancestors is good enough for me.
I love that you said that. One, I feel like you said it to me, even though you were saying it to everybody, because I do get caught up on credentials. And you know what? Because credentialing is feels safe. Going back to survivor mode and that kind of thing is like credentialing feels safe. It feels like I need this credential because then I could just say to people that I'm the blah 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 blah. Right? Like, let's take sound healing for example. Sitting down at those bowls, I do have a sound teacher. But when I got to sit down at the bowl, something ancestral came out. Like I just was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like this actually, I've done this before.
Yes.
You know what I mean? This has happened to me in another life. This is not new. I've done this before. Now, do I recall it? No, it's deep in my lineage, right? And and so when it came to like, do I want to get a sound certification or any of that? I was like, nah, I'm good. I went and got the breathwork certification and the yoga nidra certification because in breathwork, you're putting people into a state. And I wanted to be mindful of what that meant health wise. So I think I was nervous about that. And there's a lot of people who are not like don't have any deep certifications in it, but like I really wanted to be like, what state am I putting them in? And then what should happen while they're in those states? With yoga nidra, you're going into theta. Is it theta or beta? Which
Theta,
one?
beta, beta waves. Is it theta or beta waves?
Lord,
It's
child. A deeper state of consciousness.
yes.
And it and so what you hear during that moment is so important because you could literally implant a seed deep into your subconscious in that moment. So the care of the space there, I'm really careful with. And this is the thing I think about going to different people. So I love that you brought up, having the just having that like familiarity. And I think because if it's calling you to it, it's maybe an assignment for you, right? Like it's calling you to do it.
That's right.
There's something there. So yeah, so somatic practices. I know one of the things you also want to talk about today was somatic stretch and vagal regulation.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
uh,
how do these things all go together too? Okay, go ahead.
yeah, absolutely. So no. I'll kind of give a little bit of context. Last year we started a partner and I. Her name is Rhonda Smith Branch, and she is the founder of an organization called Worthy of Wellbeing. And so
Mm.
she does a lot in birth work. And so that's how I kind of broke into birth work as well. She kind of drugged me along with her. But last year we did um Black Maternal Health Week, and it was at a local university here, the University of Missouri St. Louis. And so that's when I first workshop You OK Sis. And within that workshop, we go through vagal stimulation and what it looks like culturally for us. We go through, movement, singing, and things like that. And then
Mm.
I also introduce everybody or reintroduce some people because we are now starting to wake up to what's available to us. So it's a lot of people that have been turned on to a lot of things. So I am also introducing or reintroducing everyone to acupressure. So we do a little acupressure in the session as well. And
Ooh.
yeah, so the whole idea is for me to be able to show my community and those who come out to my workshops that we have tools that can help us in a moment of acute upset to, capture that moment right then and there and then come back to ourselves and be grounded and regulate in that moment. And so, what that looks like is we go through all of the things that we've seen our ancestors and our elders do. You walk into a room on your grandparents, and they stay there watching TV or whatever. You go to change that channel, like, wait, don't you change that channel as a kid? And you'd be like, well, grandma, granddad, you was asleep. And they say, no, I wasn't. I was resting my eyes. And so we're finding that the resting of the eyes. And so when I was in school, they were, making that in kind to meditation. And yes, it is. And so you're shutting off input to the brain in that moment, and you're just coming into a calm place. And so just we go through that. And so we go through what that looks like, and we talk about that because I want to evoke those feelings. I want people to remember, that moment when they seen an elder doing this. What was the day like? What were your surroundings like? How did that make you feel? So that when we are in those states of mind, and when we do need to take a moment to rest our eyes, our elders would rest their eyes anywhere they were. If they had a chair to sit down, then they would rest their eyes, be it, the park, or waiting on someone at the grocery store or whatever. They were resting their eyes. And so that was one of the things we went through. Also humming and singing. I have a grandfather who was a rock star. I have a grandmother who is a gospel singer. And so she's always, so it's just always a bunch of humming and singing. Well, what is the humming and singing? It's vagal stimulation. You try to be anxious. You try to be angry. You try to be anything other than calm while you are humming or singing. So then we go through some humming and singing, and we talk about the different songs culturally that kind of just does it for us. Like, what's that one song, be it gospel, be it contemporary R&B, or whatever it is, that when you sing it, this is it. Like, everything changes in my life, no matter what was going on.
You said a few things. So I wanna bring some things into conversation so people know what you're talking about. So when she's saying vagal stimulation, she's talking about the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the autonomic nervous system, and it acts as a crucial bidirectional highway connecting the brain to the heart to the lungs, and digestive tract. It regulates involuntary functions like heart rate, digestion, breathing, and blood pressure. And it's essential for the parasympathetic nervous system for your body's rest and digest mode. Now, why is it important for you to be in rest and digest mode? The rest and digest mode is powered by the parasympathetic nervous system and is essential for long term health, repairing cells, and maintaining daily functions like digestion and resting heart rate. Resting heart rate. I'm sorry. It's a counterweight to stress, which stress lowers the heart rate, slows the breathing. I'm sorry, by lowering the heart rate, slowing the breathing, and conserving energy. This is what you need: rest and digest, lowering the heart rate, slowing breathing, and conserving energy, allowing the body to return to a state of calm and homeostasis at the fight or flight. So, your body is set to understand impact and fight or flight, and then you're supposed to get back to rest and digest, right? Like, rest and digest is the most healthy state for it to be in. But what happens is some of us are just stuck in fight or flight because of trauma, because of racism, because of discrimination, because of how we've been historically treated as people. So our bodies are stuck in that mode, and then it's dysregulating everything, throwing off your blood pressure, throwing off your. If you think about it, now I don't know how deep you want to get on this, but the impact of slavery, discrimination, racism is intergenerational. So you wonder why is it always that everything Black people suffer from it worse? Well, Black people suffer from, more heart disease, more high blood pressure, more diabetes, more, like, we suffer from all these things more. Part of it is because we've been thrown off track through racism, through discrimination, through the historical context of what the country has done to us. Because we've been trying, and this is the thing, this is the thing to understand. We've been thrown off track as a whole community of people. And this is the systematic pieces that people don't deeply visit when it comes to politics. Is so annoying. Is because we've been all thrown off from our nervous system regulation for so long, and just continue birthing it over and over, and then birthing the ideals of slavery, white supremacy, constantly over and over. As a collective, our rates rise in these medical areas in ways that we don't want them to. So it's going to take, I think, and to the point of Dr. Harris saying, like, people are awakening now. I think the more of us that's called to the light, that's called to do this work, we're saying, hey, how do we, as a force, shift the nervous system, not the politics, because the politics, somebody else is doing the politics fight. That's not my fight per se. Even though like all these things work together, we are saying, how do we push it back? You know what I mean? Like imagine that like this wave was coming. We like, hold up, can we part the Red Sea and then push it to go into a different direction so that the generations after us are a lot more regulated? And here's the thing, it's happening. When we are like, oh, these kids are punks, like, oh, these kids, oh, they so emotional, oh, it's because the idea of like, I'm not gonna do what my mama did, and I don't want my kid out here with all this trauma.
Oh, yeah.
It's happening, but it's not reading to the older generations as a pushback against what slavery has created inside of us, or what the PTSD for being discriminated against or being treated poorly. We're not seeing it that way. We're just seeing like these kids ain't gonna be able to survive. So it's throwing up a fight or flight mode and a survival mode for older generations when they see the younger kids, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, not caring about certain things. And don't get me wrong, there's things that it's debatable and arguable what they should be caring about, but their nervous system is in a different place. So they don't want to do anything that disrupts them. They're like, I'm here for my comfort. Now, the hard part is society. So this is where like the body and the politics all playing together, right? Because society has not shaped itself to fully allow all people to thrive at the same levels.
Mm-hmm.
We are nervous for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Like our drama is kicking up. We're like, oh my God, they're not gonna make it. Oh my God, what's gonna happen to them? What if they don't fight right? What if they don't understand the reason that they need to be anxious like we anxious? They don't, they're not going hard enough. Like what? It's society hasn't shifted enough to allow them to be regulated. So we're worried for them. We're worried for them, and then we don't know how to sit in between. And listen, we don't know how to sit in between. That's just a reality. I don't know how to sit in between. Oh my God, you not a hustler. You don't. You ain't out here dysregulated trying to get.
Yeah.
And the world is still treating us poorly, and be more regulated. Like that is work. Yeah. This is why I'm glad that you're doing the work you're doing with You Okay Sis, with the somatic vagal regulation work, because like we got to figure out different ways to regulate the older people, the older generations, so that they can try and strategize and pull on ancestral means as much as we can to figure out how we're going to be regulated with Gen Z and Gen Alpha enough to go, can we give y'all advice on how to survive? Maybe we can't. Yeah. Maybe we don't have advice on how to survive because nobody gave us space to be regulated.
Yep. We might be just learning all together. Yep.
That's it.
Yep. It makes me, when you say this, it makes me think of two things. So like in the beginning of the podcast today, how you were talking about showing up early to that meeting so that you can kind of you can be the thermostat, if you will. And so it's the same thing for nervous system regulation. You see what I'm saying? When we are not reactive and we're able to just sit in our Tony seat, how Toni Morrison used to just be so cool and calm and just sit there and regulate ourselves and not react to what's going on and not subscribing. I think that that's going to be powerful as well when we can do that, more, on a whole as a people.
And I think this body work plays into it. And sometimes people take that for granted.
Yeah. And so that's the real soft life, right? This is the real soft life. I'm noticing like really big changes in myself because a lot of this I am learning and I'm having to teach myself. Like I'm a student of this as well. I'm not someone that's just giving these services and, patting somebody on the head. No, I'm going through it as well. And I'm trying to regulate as well. I got a 5-year-old clowning on me at the grocery store as well, so I'm in this real time as well. So it's the soft life. You know how sometimes we say, okay, well, so-and-so just made that weird. If we're not reacting, then we can't make something be one way or another. So I choose not to react. So I'm just regulating myself. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to hum because I know that that's going to help to, regulate me and get me back to homeostasis.
When's the next UO cases, or what you got coming up?
So I just did another UO cases at another local university, the Southern Illinois University, Illinois in Carbondale. So I did that last weekend, and then next weekend I have another community free stretch coming up. It's going to be at the Eight Dimensions Wellness Center on April 22nd, and it's going to be at 6 p.m. So we're going to do middle of the week this time. I'm hoping that a lot of people come out. I'm getting a lot of sign up. So it's really nice. So I'll be doing that. I like to do a stretch once a month because again, the soft life really don't cost much. The soft life is not a Birkin bag. Like that's nice and all of that. But the soft life is being able to wake up in the morning and engage in a nice good stretch and some breath work. The soft life is being able to walk away from a situation for a second and get yourself together, taking a walk or whatever it is that you need to regulate. So just being able to provide that to people to show them what self-care, looks like. It's not always something that we can do outside of ourselves or buy something outside of ourselves or to adorn ourselves. So being able to give that for free, because so many people think to achieve the soft life, they got to be spending some money.
I love that. Black Girl Ventures, we're having a conference, the Futures We Build Summit, and it's going to be on September the 10th through the 12th in DC. On September 11th, we're going to do a wellness day. And so I'm going to hit you back up because I want to have some stretching.
Oh wow.
As a part of it. And so we definitely will talk. I think and we also talked about like how could we bring in maybe massage, chiropractic. Like we're thinking about all these things. So we have some more conversation to have. But like because we can't build a future without this.
That's right.
We can't build a future without this health part.
That's right.
Right. And it's like we can't do a summit and it be all about business. Like
Yeah.
granted, yes, great that we're gonna get business and business acumen and all that. But it's like, no, we really need to be talking about how we move our bodies in this next realm. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
I like this a lot. I like how you are incorporating, all the things, not just the body, not just business, but everything. You're addressing all of it. We always take things and we want to compartmentalize them and we want to put them in their own little boxes. Keeping everything together, that's so Sankofa in itself. Like, I mean, just think about culturally how we moved as a people. If our whole family really couldn't be there, then it was like, if everything in my life could not go with me where I was going, then what are we doing? So I like that we are trying to keep everything balanced and knowing that in every moment, yeah, this may be business, but I still need to be seeking some regulation. I need to make sure that my body is good because I can't perform in this business, arena if my body isn't good, if my mind isn't good. So I'm loving this. I love what you got going on. This is amazing. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah. And I was speaking about this a little earlier. We should connect because I'm me and like a family medicine doctor, we're talking about how we could like travel and do like pop-up clinics of service where we're bringing nervous system regulation, the family medicine doctor, and like I could imagine like what you're doing with like body somatic chiropractic. Like I'm seeing it,
Yeah.
and we're talking about like how do we put that together? How do we pilot it? And like what would we want it to look like? Because my wellness center that I want to create would be like a doctor's office, except that it has both, like
Yeah.
meds and that's what
We
I say.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like not just one or the other. Like you
That's
go to
in.
this doctor, they not even talk about nervous system regulation. It's like, okay, great, just go ahead and take this medicine, get his blood, let me run these tests, right? And then they're not even counting nervous system regulation as a part of something to help you become better. And so, and then I mean, listen, you know this. A lot of times they're not even counting chiropractic, or they're not even talking about perimenopause. They're not even like there's just levels of us that one doctor is not touching.
Exactly.
And that
Ex-
you don't get to the other parts unless you have a problem. And it's like,
Yep.
why we got to keep waiting for that?
Why do we have to wait for emergency when we can be preventative? And we can
Exactly.
work together, because at the end of the day, it's all about the health outcomes. Because I love a good blood test. I'll tell you in a minute, bring me your blood, test, so I can look at everything and see where your numbers are and see how your body's functioning. But at the same time, if we're not putting everything together and working together, then what are we doing for better health outcomes for patients and healthcare in America as a whole? This is what's also driving up the cost of healthcare. We got to do a better job of coming together. And yes, integrative health is the future, and that is what I do on a daily basis. Integrative health, working.
Integrative health,
Yeah.
1000%. And I think I'm saying integrative life.
Yes.
Like that's what I'm talking about. So yes, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you in the car, but you sounded great. It
I
worked.
know. I couldn't make it to the office. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. It's totally fine. But we appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk
All right.
soon.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this.
All right, bye. Narissa, I see you. Hold tight. Um, I am really so if you join me on a 30-day show where I went live every day, we interview everybody from a business perspective. Now you're joining me with 3B as a series, 3B Society, Body, Business, and Belonging. And I'm also live and in color, in person, in front of y'all, moving through my own identity shifts around the work I see needing to be done in the world. So what you're joining me on right now, these interviews, and these interviews are not every day. So I did get a slap on the wrist from one of my Omi homies, like, girl, can you let us know when you going live? I'm like, you right. So I'm gonna try to do better at that. I have one more guest for today, and then my next live is on Monday. Okay, so I'm gonna try to send y'all out a message to my Omi homies on Sunday to remind y'all that I'm going live. Actually, let me put up the Omi homies number so that y'all. Let me put up all my things. So you can if you text me to 202-918-4483. That's how you become my Omi homie. Actually, and I don't have the Omi Homies text list on my website right now. But become my Omi homie. You can text me at this number. I'm gonna put it up here. 202-918-4483. So that's why I send my text messages out on. Also, if you go to omibell.com, join the email list. Then you won't miss anything as well. Because I'm gonna get better. I'm running the whole company, okay? But I promise I'm gonna try to get better at all the marketing. Like I know the marketing stuff, and like I have a marketing team marketing on the BGV side. But for my stuff, I think I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and hire an actual like content person to be ongoing, or I'm gonna have to tap into these AI agents. Because I've been thinking about that. Like, I'm gonna have to get me some AI agents and train them up real good to do some of this. I don't know that they'll be able to send a text messages because that's on like a different platform. But I'm really looking into how can I get these AI agents to send regular newsletters to folks to sit like we gonna see. I'm gonna keep y'all posted. Y'all know whatever I'm learning, I'm willing to teach. So willing to show, willing to showcase. So I will tell y'all when I get to it, what it's looking like in terms of like, do we want to bring in this? How you bring in AI agents? Now, I built. Shout out to Maria, who was super inspirational for me in building the Breathing Bell, and I built the Breathing Bell, which is a web app. So if you go thebreathingbell.com and you can participate in some breathwork exercise and just try it, with no like long term commitment or anything like that. It's free. The flow is easy to get into and you could try it out and just kind of try it out privately before if considering going to a group. But I have been building out my website to start putting up articles and things like that. So hang tight, I'm coming, y'all. But for now, just make sure you text me or join the email list. So I'll make sure I get it out to y'all when I'm gonna be where I'm gonna be. Okay, I'm working on it. Yeah, come on in. It's okay. Catch on up. And if you missed the top half of the show, you can also always go to my YouTube at the Omi Show on YouTube, and then you can go and look at the live section. The top of the show is already there. Because if you just coming in now, I'll be honest and say you missed some good stuff. You coming in a good time because you can get to hear from Narissa, but you missed some good stuff because we listen. We going in today because we need to talk about, because I'm tired of people missing out on business. Like, I think, and then I'm tired of people missing out on business and then saying it was because of some broad stat that nobody cares about us. Hey, lots of people care about you and they do want your business. So you got to be ready. You got to get into these meetings. You got to be on time. You got to show up. And I'm also trying to catch myself around my own. Again, I'm listen. I'm telling y'all everything in real time. I'm trying to catch myself around any PTSD that I have from different business things that happened to me where I wasn't ready and I missed opportunities. And now I'm trying to make sure that y'all know, hey, be ready. Don't miss these opportunities because they out here for you and you just don't know it. And you never know. I never take anybody for granted because you never know who somebody is. I always tell people it was the janitor that let Fantasia back into her American Idol. She had left. She had left when it was about to go home because she got scared. And her dad was like, "You better get your like what? Go back." He didn't cuss. But he was like, go back. And by the time I think it was her brother. By the time they went back, doors was closed, wasn't nobody there. They flagged down the janitor, like, "Can you get us in?" The janitor was like, "All right, I got you." The janitor got her back in. Don't take nobody for granted. Be kind as you can to everybody. And I'm only sharing the story that I shared this morning because you can be ready and business is waiting for you. I got more stories to share. I think I'll hold this one to Monday because Monday is my next live. But I want to talk about hiring and operational capacity because I'm finding that right now people are having challenges building out operations, right? Like people building business in a way to, like, they have a business model, they're putting it out there, people are buying into what they have, but operations wise, they're just moving. They're just making things happen, right? And so I want to shed some light on how to think about hiring. I want to shed some light on how to think about your operations. I'll do that on Monday when I go live again. On Monday, my live is, what time is it? Actually, I'll be back 6 a.m. PST, which is 9 a.m. EST. And so I'll give y'all some good. I'll start the morning with all of the business conversation, and then my guest comes in at 7 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. 10 a.m. y'all time on EST. Okay, and for my mountain people in between. So you'll do that. So I'm gonna bring up my guest for today though, because we're not done. Okay, we ain't done. We got more stuff to talk about. Okay. 3B, body business and belonging. We just had a body conversation, and now I'm bringing in Narissa Street, who's going to talk about belonging. Narissa Street is a writer, director, and producer of television and theater whose storytelling has been commissioned and supported by some of the most innovative culture organizations in the South. A Black Girl Ventures Emerging Leaders Fellow. Hello, you better. She leverages new narratives to build ecosystems around joy and multi-generational community building. She's inspired by the cycles in nature, a blue ink pen, and the many friends who collaborate with her to tell new, wiser stories. You can follow her at Narissa Street, and I'll put that up on the screen in a second. But for now, coming to the stage. Hello, how are you?
I am so grateful. How are you?
Oh, you did all the things for me. You got your website and your Instagram right there. I'm gonna leave that. Yes, I like that. I'm great. I want to talk about what you have seen through storytelling.
Ooh,
Yeah, and because storytelling is a place of belonging. I feel like we need to get into that more.
yeah.
Right? Like we what does that mean? Where do we belong in stories?
Mm-hmm.
How do we belong in stories? Right? And how stories tell us where we belong. Okay?
Okay.
Like, tell me about your work.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for continuing to have this platform. The first show that I was on, the depth of the conversation and the depth of the conversation you continue to have, I think is so missed in business spaces. I think we really need to be as real as you are And I'm really grateful for this opportunity. So let's start with what story is, right? And then go into where we belong. So story is meaning making, right? And that's as granular as I can get it. And so what's going on is things happen, whatever they are, the event, whatever it is, but who you are and what you believe creates a meaning around something, right? And so I work with young people, I work with elders, I work with everybody, but I say to people, you're in line, someone steps on your toe, depending on how you filter that. Is that person a friend or a foe? Is that person talking? Is they looking at you? You have wrapped a story around it, which, to your point earlier, either dysregulates your nervous system or calms your nervous. Oh, it's my friend. They didn't mean it. Or, them people. Right. And so when we allow others to tell our stories and we believe them, our imagination is being used to kill us. Right. And so the first place that we belong in storytelling is as the storyteller, as the meaning maker. But you can't do that if you see yourself as a character in the story versus the director, versus the writer, right? And so we have to, no matter where we find ourselves, no matter the title that we have, no matter anything, if you're in the story, you have a chance to change the story, right? So that's the first place that we belong. We belong as the storyteller. We belong as the producer of a story and not as just as a consumer of the story. You'll notice, I saw this really recently as I was going through my Instagram. Instagram now has a place where you can access your own algorithm. Right. And so if people don't understand that these things that they have produced, I've produced the algorithm. Now you have in your hand the ability to change it. You're always being given the power. That is where you belong. We just get scared because of what's happened in our past. And we say, you know what? Let someone else make the decision. So where we belong in story is as the director, the writer, and the producer.
I love that. I was making notes. So you see me like looking to the sides because
That's fine.
I was writing down meaning making, and then I was writing down. I posted on my timeline the other day, who's benefiting from the lie that you're telling yourself? And in that, there's story, right?
Right.
So whatever that the stories we're telling ourselves.
Right.
I think this is so. What's interesting about this is like, okay, so storytelling as a profession, which is what you are,
right?
And this that's one piece, and then knowing that like you as a personal story, people as the personal stories we're telling ourselves and what meaning we're attaching. One example of that is the stat that we always hear, right? Less than 1% of Black women getting access to venture capital, right? Less than 2% of women are getting access to venture capital. I was talking about this a little earlier. What people have done is attached the meaning that nobody will give me money.
Right.
So a lot of times when I'm coaching entrepreneurs or meeting with them, they'll go, well, because they ain't gonna give us some money. Well, I said, well, did you ask? Who did you ask?
That's it.
Or people go, oh, well, yeah, because I need to raise money. Do you need to raise money? Have you asked 100 people? No, well, I don't know. It don't look like to me that you need to raise no money.
Yeah.
And it sounds crazy to just say, but the reality is, okay, is a story you're telling yourself causing you pause. All right. So there's that. And then these stories, at this point, we can't figure out the chicken or the egg between the story we've been told and the story we're telling ourselves, which is where like what's so important for what you're doing. Right. Where it's like the stories that are being told to us are doing a number on the stories we're telling ourselves. We're shaping it, right? The days when like all the roles that you had to be a crackhead or a drug dealer to be some Black person on TV, or you had to be super impoverished, right? And then some folks went, wait a minute, I know some other stories out here. Let's push some other stories, because when we push these other stories forward, we know what it's doing to the human psyche. We know what it's doing to the people watching it. Is that now other stories? How the going on autopilot that you spoke about, which is it's safer for somebody else to just make the decision for you.
Correct. So part of that is, to your point, back to belonging. When I believe this story, I'm part of a group now, right? So there is some sense of belonging. There is even culture built around whole victim stories, right? And so if I no longer believe this particular story, where I'm just kind of flapping in the wind here, right? Who am I? Oh, I've got to create my own identity, right? And so part of the work that I do, had a beautiful contract with PBS as one of their independent producers. I've written several plays that have been produced here as well. But the joy that I get is doing the storytelling workshops where I'm handing it back to whatever community I'm dropped in, right? The first thing that I have to address with people is their identity, right? And giving them a foundation and a safe place to change their identity. When we talk about belonging, when we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, belonging is one of the big ones, right? And if you're not eating, right, if you can't eat, if you can't take care of your basic needs, belonging is a something that we search for, but actually after we've finished eating, after we've taken care of our shelter. That is how it has been explained to us, and whole psychologies have been based on that. However, when you really get to who we are as a people, in order for us to find food, we attach ourselves to a community that we believe is safe. So that need is met. And so what we need to do is start to understand that what was thought of as an intrinsic need is a very explicit need. One of my mentors talked to me about when I'm doing my courses and my work and whatever, when people come to me and say that they need training, what they're actually saying is they need community, right? And so this belongingness, this where do I fit? Your identity tells your story back to you, right? And so when you're asking people as a founder, you know, and again, acknowledging how beautiful the Black Girl Ventures mentorship was, because it then talks to us about an ecosystem. In building that ecosystem, are you building an ecosystem based on an identity you no longer have? Right? Are you building that ecosystem?
You saying something. Let me okay, first of all, let me say this. When people come and say I need training, they're saying I need community. The reason why I love that is because there's trainings that people ask me for at BGV. And I always have said, y'all can get that training from anywhere. We don't need to do a business one-on-one. You can go get business training from anywhere. They're like, oh no, but we need y'all to do it.
That's
right? It. And I'm like, oh, you don't need me to coach. You know what I mean? Like people are like, oh, can you coach? Can you be my mentor? I'm like, first of all, are you ready for that? Because I'm super raw about mine. So I don't know if y'all want to be one-on-one with me, because I'm not going to be holding back. Yeah. But I'm like, do you really want that? But they're asking for a community. Yeah. And I never thought of it that way. People have asked us to do a conference. And I'm like, conference, y'all, there's a million conferences. But they're asking for what the kind of community that we bring.
Right.
They're asking for that energy of care And I and
Your
yeah,
specific brand of care,
my
right?
yes, my
Yeah.
specific brand of care.
So,
Now Maria said something in the chat that I want to bring up. And so because she mentioned a safe place to change your identity. First of all, if y'all are watching, thank you so much. I'm just into the conversation right now. So I'm not even like, I just want to make sure I say hey to everybody. Thank y'all so much for joining my folks on Instagram, my folks on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. When you talk about going after like building with an identity or building an ecosystem for an identity you no longer have, I'm literally right there in this moment. Like,
yeah.
I've done all this work that I've done with Black Girl Ventures. I love it. I could do it in my sleep. My team's great. We're doing it. And Black Girl Ventures won't close. Like, what we'll do is we'll be moving toward like just programming in 2027. But I'm saying all that to say, for me, as a person who founded the thing, built the thing, I've been like, my soul has left this idea of moving in business the same way. And
Right.
now I'm like, I see this. We need to focus on this body business and belonging. It's the evolution of what I started, which is like, I see this need in a different way now. Things have shifted. The world has shifted. The founders have shifted from 2016 to now. The founder approach, the founder we serve, totally different people. The needs have shifted.
Right.
And I feel called to serve these other needs. But like, I still got to fundraise while I'm right here, right? So like,
That's
in
it.
some instances, I'm having these conversations, and I like, I'm finding myself, and this is a vulnerable share, but I'm finding myself almost getting like, I'm saying to myself, like, girl, you know this, you can ramble these stats off. Like, what are you doing? But I'm finding myself kind of almost tripping over the words, or like, just because my soul isn't there, that alignment piece isn't there in the same way. And I have to ask myself how to merge or unify what I'm doing and where I'm going, along with thinking through, because this still matters to me. How do I shift to a new identity?
Right.
And same thing in dating.
Listen, did you?
Same thing in dating. It's like,
Yes.
I moved to LA. The guys that I was thinking about dating on the East Coast, or thinking about dating when I was so knee deep in like business woman. I was gonna be a businesswoman, just a different kind of business. But I'm just saying, like, I was like, in it to win it, on stages, traveling the globe, training, yada yada. Like, when I was in it that way, I was looking for a certain kind of man. I was looking for a certain kind of partner.
Not anymore.
As I go into this heart-centered work, this soul-led work, I don't freaking know who I'm looking for anymore. I feel like I'm swiping and I'm trying, and I'm like, maybe it's him, but like, new identity. How do you find a safe place? Because I've been putting out the language, permission to shift, shifting without shame. What have you seen in your work around storytelling and identity shifting? I'm curious, or just any feedback you have on anything I said, but like, I'm really curious about that personally, and I think for the audience, selfishly, personally, but for the audience.
I will no. So personally is always where we have to come as founders, right? Because if we're building an aligned business, it's aligned to our lifestyle, right? So the identity shifting. I love just taking the inspiration from characters in stories that we love, right? The identity shifting comes from exactly, you leaned into what it is, vulnerability, and truth telling, right? One of the things that we do all the time is lie. And we lie because that's what marketing tells us we have to do. We project out something that isn't quite true quite yet. And the strength and the strongest foundation comes from the truth. It is just unfiltered truth telling, first to ourselves, right? When you're looking at character building, and I do like a lot of character building workshops in writing, and those the lessons that I get there just translates so beautifully into what you have to do and have to be as a person. Um, I'm so in love with where I am. I'm living at this beautiful place. I'm hoping you're not hearing the
Yeah,
planes
no,
flying
it's
over, but
really
I kind of
loud.
hope. So hold on a second. So I'm gonna shift just a second, and it's literally a turnaround, and I'll finish answering that question for you because you said
Okay,
it's
okay,
really
I'll
loud.
remove
Hold
you
on.
for a second. I think, the idea of belonging, I feel like doesn't always come together in all the other conversations, right? So it's like body, it's like how we do with our body, health, how we work it out. Is it healthy? What does our body look like? And then the idea of business or making money. And I'm using business for over making money because I'm not talking about grind culture, but operating business, how you get to a place of how does your business get to a sort of homeostasis on it? Like what does that look like? How operationally, what does that look like? Like these kinds of things. Belonging, I noticed that in the corporate world, there was like diversity, equity, inclusion. And then I noticed some corporations took on DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Now you would maybe it sounds logical that if you have diversity, if you have inclusion, if you have equity, that belonging would be automatic, and it's just not true. There has to be an intentional effort from different corporations for belonging and an intentional effort on where you belong, discerning what that looks like and where you belong. I'm gonna bring Narissa back up. I think she's ready. Okay, here we
Okay,
go.
perfect. All right, so going back to what we talked about, and yes, to your point about what belonging now, kind of sliding into the DEI. The thing first is understanding that we have to tell the truth, like you tell the truth, and be as vulnerable as possible in that. Now, because you have a leadership role, the vulnerability has to not be at the cost of your well-being. So storytelling is where all of that comes through. So when I talk to people about how to tell the story about their shift and their pivot, I talk about, are you telling the story from your wound? Are you telling the story from your scar? Are you
Mm.
telling the story from your tattoo? Right. So
Mm.
we seem to think that just because we're on a platform that we need to tell everybody everything, right? Because, if I say it this way, the certain amount of vulnerability will game the algorithm in a certain way, but at what cost, right? So if you are saying, okay, I work with folks who have dealt with domestic violence and whatever else, and they're like, I have to write a story about this. But when they're telling the story, you can see it's still vibrating on them. It's still fresh. Okay, you're out of it, but are you going to re-wound yourself telling that story?
Mm.
So the truth telling is to yourself first about where it is I am, what's the landscape I am in front of, what's my foundation, what can I share? There's a certain amount of resilience that we're all born with, and in what that used to be called was character. There's a certain amount of character that you're born with that if something happens to you, you don't just shift and change yourself. But what we've found, especially in business, and they talk about this in the United States, I want you all to know that in global circles, there's a lot more truth telling that is told. If you ever watch, if you ever watch the news in any other country, European countries, Caribbean countries, every place else, the newscasters tell the truth about everything that's going on, unless, of course, the country is such that they're restricted. But in England, you ever watch the news in BBC? What? People tell the truth. People, and it's because there's a character in there's a strength in telling the truth. So first, you're telling the truth to yourself. If you're trying to shift an identity, if you're trying to shift ecosystem that you've built around yourself. You tell the truth to yourself. And then you honor that. So the thing that I heard you say is you want to kind of merge and unify. That makes sense, because why would I want to lose an entire community that I've built for 10 years or longer? Because you said 2016. I'm sure it didn't start 2016. 2016 might be the part where we knew about. But there's been things, there's a whole life ecosystem in there. And so there are things that do have to be pruned, right? And there are things that don't serve us in the next version of ourselves. But first, we have to be vulnerable and tell the truth about what did serve us and why it served us. And that's where we, with our truth telling, have the resilience to handle our grief, right? Something incredible happened in the work that we've done over the last, and so you're like, oh my God, this is incredible, this is amazing, whatever. And then the little thing taps on your, hi, you got to let go of that really good thing, but there's a great thing over here. And you're like, wait, what? That I really like this pen. This pen has served me over the last 10. It weighs a certain amount. Like my hand is used to writing in this particular way. And, God's like, hey, AI exists. You could just talk it out now. And you're like, I like my pen. And so we have to acknowledge that even in the letting go of the good, there is grief, right? So the truth telling, the space for grief happen at the same time. So then it is also adding to the ecosystem, those safe spaces. You talked about it, permission to shift, permission to change. You are using your words, which is, one of my favorite things. You're using your words to create the world you want. That is the power that we have. We're using our words to create the world we want, because when we surface those words spiritually, we are reforming our imagination, right? You're reforming your imagination. I like to tell people you're making a new wrinkle. And because you're making a new wrinkle, as you know, metabolically, there is a cost. Your body does not like to change itself because there's a metabolic cost, but you just have to keep talking to yourself. I understand, it's okay, we're changing, but there's something incredible coming, right? And so it's the truth telling, it's the resilience, and it is feeding your imagination with the things you want, right? Because if once the pressure happens in this change, your whatever was within you will come out, right? So if you're feeding your imagination great things, then what'll pop up, and I think your last guest talked about it, the humming. If you're feeding your imagination great songs, when pressure comes up, what'll come up is those wonderful, imaginative, uplifting songs. But if you're watching whatever ratchet TV that a lot of people like to have as guilty pleasure, if you're watching whatever it is, if you're scrolling through and you find your algorithm is affirming that last identity, make the time to change the algorithm, create the environment around you so that you can step into the new thing. So it is the truth telling.
Yeah, I like that, because people will say like, oh, I'm not on Facebook because it's just too much drama. And I always be like, well, you are the one accepting these friends that are the drama. But one of these I want to go back to that you said is, you said, are you telling your story? Where are you telling your story from? Are you telling your story from the wound, the scar, and the tattoo? And I want to give an example of that.
Sure.
So my daughter's dad, we were engaged, and my youngest daughter's dad, and we were engaged. And it was the last, I guess, I've had a relationship since then, but I would say like it's the one I count. The last one I count. So I got laid off right before finding out I was pregnant. So the whole time I was pregnant with my daughter, I performed poetry, I hosted events, things like that. I decided I had to go back and get a full-time job. So as I'm approaching the time of like I'm about to have her, I said, okay, well, I actually want to get a job in art or I want to start a business. And he was like, I don't think you should I don't think you should do that, because he was like, that's not, if we're starting a family, like that's not stable. Like you should start a business. So I didn't start a business. I went and I found a job, made some contacts, connected, went and got a job doing some patent search work because I had done patent search work before. Or I've been a patent examiner before. And so I'm doing that. I'm thinking this is after I had a baby. So I'm thinking I'm doing that. I'm making good money. I'm thinking I'm hiding my level of unhappiness. I wasn't feeling it, but I'm thinking I'm hiding it. So I'm going to work every day trying to act like it's fine. And my boss called me in one day and said, I think you're great, but this is not for you. Now, he was one of the best bosses I've ever had. But he's like, I think you're great, but this is not for you. And he laid me off, gave me a decent package. And so, but I was devastated. And in that moment, I think a lot of things came back to me. And this part of it, I don't talk about as often, but a lot of things came back to me. I never wanted to get a job in the first place. Like I never wanted to do this. Not what I wanted. I wanted to start a business. So I went home. I called California Psychics. And I'm like, what is happening to my life? And the lady, she told me, when you find the thing you want to do, the money will come and you're not going to be with that guy. So within about 2 months, everything kind of flipped upside down. Like we called the engagement off. We figured out we wanted different lives. And the story I was telling about that at first was he left me. Right. That's from the womb. That's from the womb.
Yes.
He left me, And then I'm like, I can't believe that. You said you was gonna be here. You left. Like, now at that point I had 3 kids and I was by myself. I never want to have another kid without being married, but I'm trusting, we plant Skylar. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, we're going to do this thing. And the story that I was telling at the time was he left me. As I progressed, because at that point I was like, bump that. I don't got time to cry about this. I don't got time to sit around and think about it. I'm about to start a business. And I started just figuring out any skills I had. And I started doing whatever I could do. And one of the things that part of the story is I built a teepee and I rented it out in my living room. And I started just doing whatever, figuring it out. And then as I kept telling the story, I started hearing myself speak from the wound that I don't even know if I had anymore, because I was now seeing success in me trying my own hand at what I saw that I could do. So then it turned into the scar. Then it was, he didn't believe in me. I did. Right. So first it was, how dare him? He left me. Abandoned me in a sense. And that was me, telling the story from my wound. Then it was me then the scar became, well, whatever. He didn't believe in me the way I believed in me. And here's the thing. The reason why I want to pull this apart and I'm sharing this is because there's triumphs. There's things that we build from that motivate us too in these like stories that we've told ourselves or stories that we're telling everybody else that's coming from the scar, coming from the wound and the scar. And this is the healing process, the wound, the scar, the tattoo, right? Like the healing, that's a healing process there. And you got to know where you are in that journey so you know what story you're telling and how it's actually impacting you and have control over it so that you can then tell it from the space you need to tell it from for you to feel your best. Now, I can say that now from this language you just offered and from like knowing how I told the story and now knowing how this process can work for me moving forward, because my wound phase could have been shorter. My scar phase could have been shorter, right? And I could have gotten to the tattoo quicker. And that's that healing process. But then the tattoo part of that story is my beliefs were just greater than what he could fathom.
That's it.
And whatever, no harm, no foul, right? I'm glad that I could not imagine my life if I had stayed there. The life that I have now was the life that I was meant to live. Now here's how the stories compound. Did I sacrifice being married for success? Right? Like that's this side of stories compound. Like sometimes I have to sit with that in myself. Did I sacrifice being married for success? No.
Right.
Like my answer to that is no, I did not. because I was not supposed to be married to that person anyway, right?
That's right.
So there's that. But go ahead, I'll let you chime in.
No, so you got it. And so the tattoo now is your meaning, the meaning that you made out of it. And so I want to pull on that thread that you just left, because this is the thread that so many high achieving women are holding in their hand. Did I sacrifice my personal life for my business life, right? And so now we get to tell this new story. We get to together talk about, no, that person wasn't for us. And now we get I'm sorry. I'm so excited. Now we get to together create this new narrative about what partnership looks like at this stage, right? And so what are the ways that we now feed our imagination these news stories of partners who say yes to us, right? And so
First of
that's
all,
where
you in my journal, because literally, that was literally the prayer like my conversation with God this morning,
yeah.
right? Like receiving in general what treats me well. Because that post I mentioned this post earlier about this guy was saying, the question was asked, why do people stay in terrible relationships? And then the person answered, I think this person was the doctor, but I don't know, but their answer was because the familiarity of being treated poorly puts us into a safety. That like we get that, we know how to do that, we know what it looks like when you're treated poorly. I know how to move through that. Okay, I got it. And there's some martyrdom in there, and there's some like I feel like I'm helping in there. Like there's a lot in there around. This is turned into a whole
There's our
therapy session.
identity in there. There's an
There's
identity
in there.
There's an identity in there.
Identity anchors and ties
Yes.
to what has made me feel safe. So much so that I don't even know if I know what it means for a person to treat me well and me to really, really receive and accept that. And does that feel safe? To your point earlier around like, then you questioning everything. Why they what they trying to do for real? But like, what is it? And some of this is fair,
yes.
because it's what we've gone through. We didn't notice the signs, right? So you're trying to figure out the difference between your discernment and intuition and actually fight or flight. You're trying to, and again, I think this is where nervous system regulation comes into play. Because settling into yourself with some of these practices around like breath work, humming, getting into your body is where the real answers are. So what the real answers are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you are on to something. The 3 Bs is really something that I think more of us need to be connected with. And going back to the conversation about belonging, we now belong to a culture of martyrdom, savior, I can fix it, right? And so that, again, gives us a place to belong. I'm working on a project. I think we discussed this the last time as well. He said yes. And the project is specifically about amplifying stories about people who see us and the fact that they exist. Like, and it's not just 2 of them. There's not 2 of them. It's not one person here on the West Coast and one person, and we all got to fight for. It's not that. There are so many places that are saying the negative, and we've got to retrain our imagination. And they talk about it all the time about how depending on the glasses that you're wearing is the things that you see. They talk about, the rose-colored glasses versus, if my glasses have a certain kind of filter, I'm only going to see certain things, right? And so the retraining of the imagination, as you start to study neuroscience, they say that the brain can only handle 9 things at once. And so what tends to happen is it prioritizes the 9 things that, of course, safety, things like that. So that's why when you see something, you tend to try to match it quickly and project onto it your past experience. So retraining the imagination now gives your mind more positive things, more green flags. We're so trained on the red flags, right? So how are
Mm.
where are the green flags? So again, storytelling. And it's up to us. We have to train our imagination. You have to seek out the stories you were never told, right? And so for me, part of my work is telling the stories I was never told. And so that's where my writing, my directing, my producing is at this point. The things that I love, I get to create. And because I work in media, oh Lord, like I can create it, and the runway from idea to what you actually see is, of course, 10 times faster now, right? But
Mm.
then now we, to your point, have to create the communities who also are seeking these things, and I think you do an incredible job with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we've got it. We're here together, the two of us. We're amplifying these new stories. You're talking about creating places to shift. You're giving people permission to shift. Look at the community around, and when we work together as a community to create this new story, we also activate these amazing things called mirror neurons. If your audience doesn't know what mirror neurons are, you want to go ahead and go find that and absorb what it is. But in the Black church, we talked about witnessing.
Mm.
Someone witnessing, for you. And it is literally someone else has done something, someone else has gone before. I saw it, and my neurons are firing with them. And so
Mm.
now that becomes a new possibility for me too.
Mm. And that's the power of community and belonging
That's
at
it.
its finest. And this is, is why it's so important for us to cultivate these healthier ecosystems. Try to add as much balance as we can. Thank you so much for joining us. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate it. I enjoyed this conversation. It's been magical for me and gave me some things to think about. I might do some content around that wound, the scar, and the tattoo. I'll make sure I credit you because I'm like that. You're saying
Awesome.
something right there. And I think I used to be a teacher, so I'm always like a fan of like really pulling out concrete examples, even if it is in my story. So yeah, what you got coming up? You got anything coming up you need to tell the people
Yeah,
about?
so working on, I mentioned the production of He Said Yes. So we're actually about to launch a campaign around that and asking for stories.
Mm.
And that's the big one for me, the storytelling around that. I have some great stories from some incredible women already. Women who are high achieving women who have these incredible partners.
Mm.
So like, wait, it's possible. Yes, it's possible. So we'll do a campaign around that, and we want to know what kind of stories people want to hear from these folks, and then after that, just resting.
Yes,
Rest, like
Lord.
summer's amazing. And hoping, I hear maybe there'll be a conference.
Yes,
That we
yes,
might
there
have a
will
conference
be.
come up, or
We
maybe, yeah,
will. The BGV Summit, the Futures We Build Summit will be September the 10th to
yeah.
the 12th. We'll be dropping those tickets soon. And on September 11th, we're gonna do a full wellness day.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
So yeah, I want to be intentional about giving space to that because honestly, I don't know any business conferences that are giving wellness days. So I'm like I mean, at most you have like a little lounge somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even in the lounge, the lounges I've seen, they're still talking about business. And it's like we need to integrate. So yes, so
Yeah.
stay tuned. Thank you so much for rocking with us. And I appreciate you. So y'all check her out, narissastreet.com, at Narissa Street on social media. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
All right. Wow. Today, this is a powerhouse show. And I am so thankful to those who came to kick it with me, whether you're following, whether you are just tuned in, whether you clicked in, clicked out. Like, I have so much thanks for platforms. Tomorrow, my SiriusXM show airs at 11 a.m. I actually got to get off and go record it now. So 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on SiriusXM channel 126. Yeah. Oh, things that you want to join me, because I'm going to start texting my Omi homies when I'm going live. Monday, I'll be back live. This is the next time I'll be live, 6 a.m. PST, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I'll be 90 minutes, and I have another person who's coming have an interview on Monday. So y'all will see me then. I'm always excited to bring it to y'all. Text me at 202-918-4483 to become my Omi homie. Shout out to all my Omi homies who are in the chat. I really appreciate y'all. It means a lot to me when y'all show up, and hopefully I'm showing up for you just as much as you're showing up for me, and that's important for me. Go to omibell.com to join the email list. Yeah. And if you missed the whole show, you can go to @the_Omi_show on YouTube, subscribe, and then go to the live section, and you'll be able to watch the whole show. So have a great rest of y'all day. It's Saturday. Don't know what you got planned out there, but I hope it brings you joy, and I hope it brings you rest. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day. Peace. Do some